A not-so-brief review of my trip to Scotland. I left a very smoky Spokane, Washington, and made my way to the JFK airport. I landed around sunset and met my friend Bonnie in the Delta Lounge, where we toasted the start of our vacation. We toasted again in the airplane. The flight was an overnight flight, and before we knew it, the lights were on, we were looking out the window, and we could see Scotland below us. We made our way to the hostel where we would be staying for 2 nights. We walked down the stairs, went through one door, through another door, and we were in our room, which was literally under the stairs, so we did kind of feel like Harry Potter. It was then time to go out and explore the city. The city was preparing for the arrival of the late Queen, so the tone was a little different. However, everybody seemed to be in fairly good spirits, and we enjoyed exploring the city. One of my favorite stops was this little shop that highlighted Harry Potter and the Harry Potter stories. It was fun to look at all the memorabilia and see all the other people who were enjoying this little shop. Soon it was time to break our fast with fish and chips. However, they were all out of fish, so we just had chips. Then we proceeded to get some provisions for the remainder of the day. With provisions gathered, we headed down to Holyrood Palace, where again they were preparing for the Queen, and many people were there paying their respects. It was very somber and moving to see everybody down at Holyrood Palace. After the visit to the palace, we made our way to the Piper's Rest for dinner, where we enjoyed a lovely meal and live music. After dinner, we walked around a bit more, and before we knew it, it was the end of day 1. Then it was breakfast, and day 2 began. It was our goal to leave the city and head to Aurthor's Seat. We hiked to the top of Aurthor's Seat and enjoyed the remarkable views on this mostly clear morning. We helped others take photos and took selfies ourselves and watched the crowds.
Look at that ginormous crew of young people coming down from Aurthor's Seat.
It was now our goal to make it to Musselburgh via the oldest pub in Scotland. We weren't hungry, so we only had some beverages, but I can assure you the food looked delicious, and clearly it was based on the empty plate. We also visited historical sites on our walk along the way, had some gelato, found a place to purchase that had a fantastic view. We walked by one of the oldest houses in the area and then took some shots of the Rockville Hotel, since Bonny is from Rockville, Illinois. We were making our way to Musselburgh because of the Musselburgh hat that Bonny and I are both wearing and I'm knitting in this photo. It was fun to visit this town and take photos. Here's the cheeky kid who took photos for us, and then we made our way to the following restaurant, where we enjoyed a sharing platter and the local gin. The gin was delicious, and the food was way too much, but we did enjoy it. Then we took the bus ride home back to Edinburgh. The next morning, we had breakfast, walked around Edinburgh, got our rental car, and made our way to Fort William. We cheated a bit and took our West Highland Way finishing photo before we had even begun, because we knew at the end of the trail we were going to head right to Inverlochy Castle. So this day we went to the pizza place that's right behind us, had some beverages, enjoyed some pizza, and finished our first day in Fort William. Day 2 in Fort William was beautiful and clear, so we had a proper Scottish breakfast and made our plans to hike to the top of Ben Nevis, the tallest peak in the UK. The trail is very well marked and easy to follow, but definitely not an easy trail. However, on a clear day like the day we had, the views were stunning and definitely worth it. However, we do not recommend mountain biking this trail. Here you'll see some purple heather. Local lore says that if you take a piece of heather with you, you will always return to Scotland. I hope to return, so throughout these videos you will see heather in my hair. The trail was slow going, and at times we felt as slow as this slug. But there were pups on the trail to entertain us, and stunning views. We enjoyed each other's company and the company of those other hikers that were around us. It was honestly worth all of the effort. Here Bonny is actually having a snack, for the record, and not flipping me off. We approached the top of Ben Nevis, and yes, in fact, we definitely made it.
Happy Tuesday afternoon. Made it to the top of Ben Nevis. We were pretty gosh darn lucky. The weather was very, very nice. You can see it's very clear and beautiful up here. There's a lot of people. There were a lot of people doing it today. Here with my friend Bonnie. Hey Bonnie, we did it! Woo!
We did it, and then we had to throw our warmer clothes on because it's cold and windy at the top of Ben Nevis, and as you can see, the clouds came in. Then we had to begin our descent. The descent was long and treacherous, and we did see some blood along the trail on our way down, and we didn't realize how serious it was until we saw the rescue chopper. I'm happy to say that Bonnie and I safely made it down to the pub, had something to eat, and reveled in our successful hike. The next day, we tooled around Fort William, looked at all of the fun things to purchase, bought very little, enjoyed a lovely lunch, and in general, just enjoyed walking around the town and stretching our legs. We then decided to head over to the Ben Nevis distillery, pick up a little treat, and then go for a walk. The walk we decided to take was to Old Inverlochy Castle, since we'd be staying at Inverlochy Castle Hotel at the end of the West Highland Way. We enjoyed the views and the view of Ben Nevis, which is more rare than our photographs would indicate. The next day, it was time to leave Fort William, return our rental car in Glasgow, and head to Milngavie, because the next day we would start the West Highland Way hike. From Glasgow, we took the train to Milngavie. Once in Milngavie, we dropped our bags off and headed to the Glengoyne Distillery for our special Scotch tasting. We learned a lot, discovered the different profiles that can be tasted in Scotch, bought some Scotch for friends, and bought a special bottle to fill the flask as we hiked the West Highland Way, which we would start the next day. Soon it was time for dinner at the Fan-Two Schnook. I pasta loaded for the next day, went back to the hotel room and filled the flask. The next morning arrived quickly. We packed our roller bags for transport to our next hotel, had breakfast, and began hiking the West Highland Way. After 4 years of planning, we were finally going to get to do it.
Happy Friday morning. Bonnie and I are a few miles into the West Highland Way. Hey Bonnie! As you can see, we've got the Highlands there. The weather is amazing. We could not have asked for a more beautiful day. It's cool with a light breeze, no real risk of rain, although we do have our rain gear with us because it is September in Scotland. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Day 1 on the West Highland Way is from Milngavie to Drimmen. It's about a 12-mile walk. About 3 miles in, we walked by the Glengoyne Distillery and had our special drams that they gave us from tasting the night before. Then a little way in, we had lunch, and then we continued to walk all the way to Drimmen, having just gorgeous weather all the way. We had a lovely dinner and celebrated a great first day. Day 2 is Drimmen to Roradennan, a 14-mile day, and the weather was lovely.
Happy Saturday morning here in Scotland, doing day 2 of the West Highland Way. You can see we're walking down this cute little tree and shrubbery tunnel, and I am here with my friend Bonnie Van. Yay! Yesterday was a fantastic day. The weather was just perfect, and today looks like a perfect day too. Today the hardest part of our hike is going up Connacht Hill. I'm going to say the hardest part is going down the hill, but then we'll have a little lunch. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Here you can see Connacht Hill and the path we were going to take. It was a great walk, and the views were really fantastic at the top. It wasn't that difficult, and we had a wee dram in celebration. We came down the hill, had lunch in Balmaha, and then continued on the remainder of the day to our next bed and breakfast. The remainder of the walk did seem a bit long, but the views were nice. We found humor along the way, and our bed and breakfast at the Roradennan Hotel was lovely. Day 2 is another 14-mile day, but it is absolutely one of the hardest days of the hike.
Happy Sunday morning. It's day 9 in Scotland, day 3 on the West Highland Way. I'm here with Bonny. Hey, Bonny! And you can see the sky's a little bit lower today, but it's still perfectly beautiful. The temperature is nice. Only light rain is forecasted. We'll see what really happens. You can see the loch out there and all the beautiful scenery. I hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Take care, get outside, enjoy nature. Bye.
There were provisions along the way, and we should have stopped, but more on that later. When you take this leg of the West Highland Way, the first part of the day you can take the high road or the low road along the loch. We took the high road, and we highly recommend it. There are plenty of rock scrambles later in the day, and the views were absolutely amazing. As I already mentioned, it was a very hard day. As you can tell, Bonnie is already feeling tired. But fortunately, there were fantastic views ahead.
It went from cloudy to rainy to no lunch at the lunch stop to glorious sunshine. Look at that blue sky and those puffy clouds. Have a great day, everybody. Just in case you wanted to know what the West Highland Way is like, Bonnie's going to show you. There's all these crazy pseudo steps. Maybe these steps were made for Hagrid or something like that. And these are actually safe enough that I feel like I can video and share with you. But basically a lot of today has been walking along paths like this and figuring out how to get up safely so that we can enjoy the next day. Anyway, have a great day. Bye.
I'm happy to say we successfully scrambled all the rocks. The path at the end was quite easy. We could see the Drovers Inn. We made it safely, actually an hour before we planned, and had some beverages. We came back later to the Drovers Inn for dinner, and since we didn't have lunch, it was much appreciated. There was also a very cute dog sitting next to us at dinner. Day 4 on the trail was a much easier day, just over 13 miles. The weather was beautiful, and the scenery was very nice. Today we had packed lunches, so we were all set. As we walked, we had beautiful views, lovely clouds. I just can't say enough how wonderful it is to walk the West Highland Ways. This is where we stopped for lunch. We had a little bird guest. It was kind of fun to enjoy the scenery and the wildlife. This little mouse completely amused me. Take a moment to watch the video. As you can tell, this mouse paid us no mind at all.
Excuse me, little mouse. Can you tell us, are we on the right path? Are we heading the right way?
On our way to Tindrum, we went by this pool that was thought to wash away mental illness, so I thought I'd better take a dip, just in case. We easily made it to Tindrum, went to the local pub, had a wee dram of some whiskey, and a great night. Today was the longest walking day, over 20 miles. We would go through the bridge of Orkney and find ourselves at King's House. However, there was much amusement along the way, including Harry Coos, which I just absolutely love.
Good morning, fair lady.
You're fuzzy. You're so fuzzy. Well, go on. Get across. Take your baby. Go on. You are so cute.
I was just thrilled to be able to see Highland cows so up close and personal. Here we are at the Bridge of Orkney. Once through that area, we go into a heavily wooded walk. The woods were beautiful, the skies were bluebird blue, and the clouds were so fun to watch. Then we headed into an area where they were doing some harvesting of logs. Then on the other side, we reached another peak. You can see the cairn there. And we slowly walked into another town where there was a bar, so we could enjoy some cider along with our pre-packed lunch. Now we were heading into the moors. The moors are just absolutely beautiful. None of these pictures really do them any kind of justice. The path was rather stony and did seem to go on for a while, but the views are very distracting. There was another peak and a cairn on top, but we just didn't have the energy to make it to that diversion. we carried on, looking forward to reaching King's House. Finally, we could see King's House in the distance, but the mountains were laughing at us. There was still a long walk ahead. We did make it to King's House. Our room had a lovely view. We went down for cocktails and had a very pleasant dinner. Day 6 on the West Highland Way was only 9 miles and included Devil's Staircase. The path was fun and enjoyable, and the Devil's Staircase really wasn't that difficult. Here we are, almost at the top. Now I'm at the top. Bonnie's on her way. We had a wonderful time.
Okay, I went to the top of the Devil's Staircase. Then there was another little trail that kept going up. So I went up to the top of that cairn there. And there's still a little tiny path here. And it looks like I am going to have a view of amazing in just a minute here. It's really windy up here. Sorry about all the wind noise. But let's see what's over the edge here. I'm so glad that today was a relatively short hike so I could go off on a little extra adventure. Oh my gosh. Look at all of this. It's gorgeous. Right now I'm turning the music to be safe and taking a picture.
I had to turn the video camera off because it was so windy. It was well worth it though. The views were absolutely stunning. Bonnie took this great picture of me. I was very excited to see how it turned out. And I in turn took this great picture of her. We also met some elderly gentlemen at the top of the hill that told us a little bit about the peak. And yes, we do sing along the trail.
Thought I saw peaks up there. 500 miles and I will walk 500 more to be the man that walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. Na 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 da, na 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 na, na 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 da, na 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 na, na na na.
We made it safely into Kinlochleven and had a great room with a fantastic view and a very pleasant evening. And now it's the final day on the trail, and honestly, I was a bit sad about it.
Happy Thursday morning. It's a little bit sad. It's our last day on the West Highland Way. We're leaving Kinlochleven and we stayed here at the Highland Getaway. I have to say it was a great little place to stay at. It was raining all night and this morning, but now it has stopped. The sky is a little bit low, but it's going to be a great day. And again, I'm here with Bonnie. Hey Bonnie. I hope you guys have enjoyed kind of following us along our trip. We've had a fantastic time with amazing weather. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
At first, we got turned around and almost headed in the wrong direction. Then we walked by a bunch of gnomes and we were back on the trail. Just look where we came from. The views are absolutely fantastic. And we also got to see more people on the trail. And of course, I'm always keeping my eye out for a hairy coo. We took a look at this trail, but thankfully we didn't have to take it. We just continued on and enjoyed the scenery and the old buildings that were in disrepair. Several places along the trail were quite wet on this day. All of a sudden, we were halfway done with today's trail. I don't know how I felt about it. Well, actually, I was pretty sad.
Well, we had a spot of lunch and then the rain moved in. So I think we're going to do the last half of today in the rain, unless the sun decides to come. But the good news is we get to use our rain gear that we've traveled the entire way along the trail. It's the first time we've actually needed to put on rain pants. Oh well. Take care. Well, welcome to Scotland. We no sooner got all of our water gear on and the sun came back and it's amazing. So I guess we just needed to don our rain pants for the sake of saying we did it and checking a box because they are back in the russock again. Bye.
It was great fun having rain and then sun and beautiful skies. This is the end of the trail. And although it was a little bit sad, it was fun to know that we had accomplished so much. Almost to the end. Here's Bonnie, all done. Here's me, all done. Then we went ahead to the Ben Nevis Travel Center, grabbed a cab to Inverlochie Castle. We checked into our room, which had a beautiful view. We went ahead and got cleaned up, enjoyed the lovely accommodations, and toured around the castle and the castle grounds, and just generally enjoyed this very fancy place to end the hike of the West Highland Way. We got cleaned up because soon we were going to have cocktails and canapé and then a very, very nice dinner. All of the guests at the hotel were very kind, and it was nice socializing with them. We had very fancy menus with nice wine pairing. We did learn that you can't take pictures in the dining room, so that's why you're not going to see anything more than this one with Bonny. The next morning we had a lovely breakfast. I had creme brulee porridge, which was fantastic, and then we caught the train.
Goodbye, Fort William. Goodbye, Ben Nevis. Nice to see you one last time. On the way to Glasgow, then connecting to Edinburgh. It's been a wonderful trip. Bye.
The train ride views were very pleasant, and before we knew it, we were back in Edinburgh. We walked through the streets in the evening, enjoyed views of the castle, and then had our final dinner at the Witchery, which was really a lot of fun, but a little bit pretentious. And then before we knew it, the evening was done. We were back in our hotel and getting ready to return home the next day. Until next time, Scotland, it was fantastic.